Kenneth, I'm alcoholic.
Hey, Kenneth.
Most people respond in kind. Most people respond in kind.
Most people.
Yeah, most people respond in kind. Welcome to the Karen and Sharon Group Sponsorship Workshop. We're not going to read how it works, but we will ask you all to join us for a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer. God, grant
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
All right, this is the 12-step sponsorship workshop, and we have one of our bright lights on the scene. His name is Chris, and I've been asked the question constantly, how did you get him to come here? So this workshop, Chris Raymer is an excellent example of what we're trying to accomplish in this workshop. So the idea came, so maybe we can invite Chris over here, because, you know, he's worth studying. I've listened to him time and time again. And I didn't have a clue about how to get Chris to come here. And I told my sponsor, I said, it'd be a good idea, man, if we can get Chris Raymer to come over here. I said, but man, I don't know how to contact that guy. He said, well, Kenneth, I got his number. I can dial him up. And he dialed him up, and here he is, so I can say thank God for sponsorship. Yeah. Chris Raymer is a man who exemplifies all of the principles that this book is talking about. Faith. He has faith in his book. Y'all know the big book. Most people in here are familiar with that book, the big book. The big book tells us to stay on the fire line, right? And God will keep you free from harm. Now, you can't get on the fire line without expecting to get shot at. Am I right or wrong? Right. He's taken many shots. Many shots, many arrows and cannons and guns been fired at him, and he's exemplified perseverance and courage under fire. So without further ado, is that correct?
That's right. Ado.
I'm going to bring on Chris Raymer. Yeah.
All right.
Welcome. My name's Chris Raymer. I'm very grateful recovered alcoholic.
Hey, Chris.
And y'all see that I got a sport coat. It's laying right down here on the ground. I'm just, in case anybody says, when he went out there and talked from the podium without a sports coat on, I did, and I apologize. I've been hot for weeks. This is good stuff. We're gonna kind of tell you what we're gonna do, and I want to give y'all permission. Y'all, I know you got some smokers in here, and I'm gonna really pay attention to that. I understand that. I understand that evilness, and I'm an ex-evil one. So we gotta. If y'all gotta get up and go, it's tight in here. If you get a little claustrophobic and you gotta get up and go, I'm not taking it personal. If you gotta go to the bathroom, get up and go. Just try to be as quiet about it as you can, and we'll move on. Not a problem. We're going to do this from 12 to 1 o'clock-ish, and then we're going to break. And they got some food in here, in case some of y'all didn't know. Of course, I know that's why some of y'all are here. You want to fill a room, bring some food. That's all you got to do. You know, it doesn't matter who's speaking, you know. We'll do that for a little bit, for an hour, and then we'll come back in here for another hour and a few minutes. I'm not going to break that second half a bunch. We want to do a little question and answer if we get time at the end of this. And I know some of you guys have got other things to do on a Saturday, so we're not going to go way long on this, and that's the last thing I want to do. Sometimes when we break for the speakers at the end, we never get them back, and it just takes forever. So we may just go just that last session on through there. But if you need to smoke, you're just going to die. But it won't be long. We won't do question and answer longer than 10 minutes anyway. So if you got a question, ask it. If you don't, go on. We'll see if I can not spill this. I got sober November 13th, finally, up in North Texas, 1987. And I was 7 years in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, trying to get well. And so I'm coming from this as always. Some of y'all have heard me speak. I got some buddies in here I hadn't seen for a long time, and I'm compelled to tell you going in the door what this is about, so that if you just want to go eat now, you can go ahead and do it. Vacate the seats. I mean, because I'm sure we got some people that could use them. It's all about perspective where I come from. I almost died getting to Alcoholics Anonymous, and once I got to AA, I damn near died in and out, in and out. I'm a relapsing fool, and you know, the meeting maker make it kind of folks. You're not going to like what I got to say, and I love meetings, but meetings don't treat alcoholism. Meetings are a part of this, and anyway, and that's what I was getting up in North Texas. It's just don't drink and go to meetings, and you know, if that works for you, the mixed messages are kind of crazy. The other thing that's kind of I want to explain is that I did the one thing I swore I would never do. About 5 years sober, I went to work doing clerical work for a treatment center. And I am still in that industry. Over 20 years, I've been working in treatment centers, and I've worked thousands and thousands of alcoholics. And I'm going to mention this real quick, because I know we got some little dope being snuck in the back door here. You little crackheads from Mars. You're welcome here. But we're going to talk about alcoholism here. We're going to talk about the 12 steps. And if you're here, I mean, it's the same as what we were discussing. Every fellowship that I come in contact with has the same situations that we're talking about today. And so having watched all these people come into the rooms, they do pretty good when they're in treatment. You know, the little guy that come into treatment, we're on them pretty tight. They leave little big book thumpers from hell. And if we can get them connected to good groups, good sponsorship out here, good sobriety. Some of you guys in here, I've given your numbers out more than I've given my own number out. It's just, if you go back to Houston, call Perry. If you go back to Houston, call Doc. And all these, and you catch them and make sure they're heading in the right direction. If we can get them to finish the work and start sponsoring, they stay sober. I don't give a rat's butt what happens to the rest of their life. They stay sober. Guys, that's just my experience. That's why I come across pretty passionate about this. Because this is not just this willy-nilly. Some people get sober and some people don't. That's not my experience. At a certain point, the book says we have to assume that you want to get well. But that's an assumption. Bottom of page 34. If you can get sober on a non-spiritual basis, we're assuming that you want to do this. And if you don't, that's fine too. Nobody's going to jam this down your throat, but nobody's going to waste a bunch of time on you either.
That's right.
We got to. One of the things you got to hear from me this afternoon for this 2 hours that I've got with you is that we got to stop chasing drunks. Yep. Because see, we don't have to change our fellowship to customize it for you. We're doing quite well. We're the only game in town. I mean, I'm in that industry, the treatment center industry, and I'm not here to talk about that, guys, but I got to tell you, there ain't nothing else out there that works like this. You can send them to treatment. You can give them the best care. You can give them the best medications. You can give them lots of stuff to get them on rock solid ground. Unless they engage out here, they will not stay sober. Not if they're the real McCoy. Bill Wilson uses the term the real alcoholic. That's not my term. That's what he calls them. Just, you want to set somebody's hair on fire, introduce yourself as a real alcoholic and put him sometime. You'll have some bleeding deacon come up after the meeting. What, you think you're special? In some rooms, yes. In some rooms, I may be one of the only few real alcoholics in the room. I'm not telling you you're not welcome. I'm just saying if you're a newcomer, pay attention to what you're listening to in these rooms, because everything you hear an AA member share might not be based in fact. Might be something that they heard. Anyway, all this to say, I should have said this before and I'll say it again. Y'all are free to agree or disagree with anything I got to say. I'm coming from the industry where I get to work with thousands and thousands of little knuckleheads trying to get well, and I had such an experience with myself finally in 1987 getting sober, because a bunch of men and women gathered around me that knew enough about the book and cared more for me than they did my sensitive little feelings, and I got well. And I will forever be trying to pay that debt back. But in the same breath, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. If you're sitting in here with your sponsor and I say something that contradicts what he's been saying, he's right and I'm wrong. I don't know how I could be any softer than that. He's a loser. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I think in 1987, I'm in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous up in North Texas, like I said, and I'm trying to get well. I'm trying to, I'm doing some therapy. I'm doing bunches of therapy, and I'm on all kinds of medications. This is back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, when they would, you just walk in and a treatment center or a counseling office, and they start shoving antidepressants up your butt. And I'm not knocking that. But I'm just saying, you know, when I tried to commit suicide in 1987, I was on 7 prescription medications, and I'm drinking on top of that. Buddies, you guys, I was a mess. I was an absolute. It was a tragedy, and I'm a meeting-making fool, and I'm picking up chips left and right, and I mean it's just. I'm thinking I'm doing whatever anybody's asking me to do, and everybody's tiptoeing around me because nobody wants to hurt my little feelings, and I'm picking up chips, and I'm dating your women, and I'm networking for a job, and eating your food and drinking your coffee, and I'm not doing nothing. And 87, I picked up a stack of return checks in my mailbox. I'm 35 years old, and I'm bankrupted another checking account, and I'm going to have to go to my sister-in-law and borrow some more money. Y'all follow? I'm so tired of letting people down. I'm done. And there's nothing romantic about it. I just tried to check out. And about the time I swallowed those pills, I heard this voice that said, "Don't do this, go back to AA." And I'm arguing with the voice. There's a couple little ferrets in my apartment. I'm seeing it. They're talking, you know, because I'm hearing this voice pretty clear. And guys, I get that emails from all over the world when I get a chance to speak, and everybody's, you know, I heard the same voice. Sometimes it's a woman's voice, sometimes it's a man's voice. I don't know, but I heard this voice, and it said, "Don't do this, go back to AA." And I made myself sick, and the next day I found a doc, and at 6 o'clock that night I walked in the back door of an AA meeting, and there was a lot of laughter, just like we're doing in here, and it was a big old crowded room, and it was smoking. Remember, we used to smoke in the meetings. We ruined it for you young guys. I'm just telling you, we ruined it. Because we couldn't smoke 1 cigarette in an hour. We had to smoke 7 at a time. We looked like porcupines in there. We're all sticking out. Y'all think I'm kidding. And I'm walking in, the ceiling's lowered up, and the meeting's fixing to start, and they're laughing, and I'm detoxing. I said, I can't do this. I heard this lady laugh over here to the left-hand side real loud. I said, oh, and I'm so self-conscious. You know, I got a big old full beard with always got food in it, and I got a little skinny like I am now, but I got a big old gut, and I got kidney damage and liver damage, and I'm dying. That was the joke that I got sober. Are you wearing an eye patch or an earmuff? In a cold, it slides around a little bit, don't you know? I was about as unwholesome a little buckaroo as you'd ever come across. And I started to back up. I got real self-conscious, started to back up, and this little girl, and I can't hardly not cry when I say it. This little girl, about 18 years old, snuck up behind me. Her sponsor, like across the way by the door there, couldn't get to me because of the crowd. And she pointed to the girls as "Giddy," and the girl she knew her marching orders. She just said, "Oh no, men work with men and women work with women," and she didn't do any of that crap. Y'all follow? She didn't sponsor me. She didn't work the steps with me. She stopped me from leaving the room. She stuck her finger in my belt loop. She said, "Sit down, cowboy, you're not going anywhere." And she plopped me down in the chair and got me a cup of coffee and a bunch of paper towels, and the guys gathered around me, and we went around the meeting. And that meeting, this guy that had been chairing meetings up there for years, I knew him forever. He was 10 years sober when I walked in that door, and he said, "Let's go around and share how our lives have changed as a result of working the steps." He didn't say, "Let's tell Chris how we got here." I'm so tired of that I could puke. And if I say anything all day that will offend some of you, that's it. I am tired of us believing that our war story is going to fix the problem here. The war story may get us to the rooms, but once we get to the rooms, guys, we need to start sharing some hope. Because if you'd have told me about your DWI one more time, I'd have left. I'm tired of it. From the podium Friday night, I got to get clear because y'all just scatter all over Houston. And Chris Rammer said our stories are not important. Eat me. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said our stories are extremely important. On a 12-step call. You follow? We're down at Denny's. He's drunk. Let's talk to this cat. He's not going to listen to you if you just approach him with a big book. You know? You got to talk to him about the story. Share a little bit. Get his confidence. And then we get this guy. Pretty soon he's going to. It's like fishing. You know? Pretty soon he's going to ask the question. Well, you don't seem to be drinking anymore. Easy. Easy. Like that. And all of a sudden he's like, and he'll say, well, how'd you do it? Just reel him in. That's all you got to do. Set the hook, reel him in. Bring him to a meeting and start sharing some hope with this cat, and he'll stay. Don't bring him to the meetings and share one more stupid round of war stories. We kill more women in Alcoholics Anonymous, my experience, 26 years in the fellowship, my experience, we kill more women in the fellowship doing that than anything else. You see, I got to get this out of the way. You can hit 1,000 bottoms. Harry Tebow, Bill Wilson's shrink, he used to say it. You can hit 1,000 bottoms, but unless you surrender at one of those bottoms, you're just going to keep hitting bottoms.
Yeah.
What allowed me to surrender was not listening to your scary story about the DWI again. What allowed me to surrender was understanding that all of us in this room, black, white, gay, straight, good-looking, but ugly, homely, some of y'all hate this, I don't know. Y'all find all of us in here, we've got the same thing. The diagnosis for alcoholism and drug addiction is identical for every one of us in here. It's a genetically predisposed illness. We've known that for 1,000 years. I'm not saying your external circumstances don't exacerbate the problem, but they didn't cause it. If you're drinking because of something out there, then do some good therapy on it and be done with it. Oh, but I'm still drinking. Then maybe that's not the problem. Maybe what the problem is untreated alcoholism, period. You'll follow? The mixed messages that we hear out there can be so confusing, it's not even funny. Bring these cats in, start sharing some hope with them, and we'll be set like a champ. And that's what I want to show you real quick. I got my little rubber stamp up here. If any of you guys brought your big book, I got it. We'll stamp your little. Up in the title page of the book, there used to be a circle triangle on all of our conference approved literature from 1957 till I think 93 is when they took it out. We had a 36-year history with that circle triangle. Bill Wilson saw it in Norway in 1950, started lobbying with this idea that we could put it into our literature. Y'all can look at the archive stuff. There's some great history on it. But the little circle triangle on it had a meaning. It wasn't just a cool little symbol. It talked about being in all three parts of the program to treat a three-part illness. We got a three-part solution. And it's a great way to just touch and see how you're doing. I got some cats in here that are having trouble staying sober. All we got to do is look at this circle triangle, and I can tell you why you're not staying sober. I got some cats in here, I guarantee you, that have been sober a long, long time. You're not drinking one stupid day at a time, but you're miserable. I can show you what the problem, we've all seen it, guys. I've been there. I'm not taking a shot at anybody. I can show you right here why that is. In 1993, when Alcoholics Anonymous decided they were going to do a bunch of lawsuits against the drunk guys, you know, they were going to the little guys with the circle triangles and the bumper stickers and the t-shirts and AAs, they're making money off us. And it's like, you know, who cares? They want to make $5 at a conference. I mean, who gives? It was important to somebody up there. Anyway, the lawyers, after getting in there and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of our money trying to sue these folks, they finally realized that they couldn't defend this. And there's a lot of other people out there using Circle Triangle logo besides Alcoholics Anonymous. And somebody signed a letter, sent it out to the membership. It was an unsigned letter, sent out to the membership. We never got a chance to vote on whether we were going to leave this in our book or not. Some lawyer that was living in New York backed and took it out overnight. And overnight, we could start seeing some real damage to our fellowship. Yeah. These are some statistics I got in, I'm going to go right back here in just a second. These are some stats we got, these are in Dallas, Texas. My buddies at the Houston Intergroup just sent me their stats. The numbers are different because of the population density, but the percentages are identical. It'll take your breath away. We've been monitoring these statistics since '95. I see some of you are scratching your head now. This is not scientific. I'm okay with it. I can send them to you if you want to see them. I can send them to you with a click and on a button, and then just be done with it. You don't have to take notes, but this will kind of show you where we're at. These are 2012 stats, and again, I got Houston stats, the most recent ones, and they'll blow you out of the water. Desire Chips in Dallas-Fort Worth area, they sold 14,763 Desire Chips. Y'all know what I'm talking? Some parts of the country, we do these workshops, and they don't know what Desire Chips are. I don't know, the 24-hour token, the little thing that they give you when you come up. Y'all, okay. 14,000, nearly 15,000 of those. That's a lot of folks screwing up their courage to walk in the back door of an AA meeting. Y'all follow? Scared to death. 1 month chips, we sold 3,897. Y'all see a slight drop?
Slight.
It's breathtaking. I mean, it's like, oh my God, what happened to all these people? They didn't even stay 30 days. 1 year chips. You stay sober a whole year. No pot. No pot on the weekend. Whole year. 1 year. We got 1,241. 8.4%. When we had our forward into our second editions in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, they quoted a 75% success rate. Guys, you talk to any of the old archivists and they'll tell you the same thing. We had a bare minimum 50% success rate back in the day. And we know so much more about alcoholism now today than we've ever known before. And yet our success rates, universally, you should see it in Europe, universally are dismal. I'm not taking a shot at our fellowship. I'm just trying to say something happens when we have a newcomer come in and in a 30-day period they split. And I'll tell you from my experience what happened is they beat you on the cheek and they say, you're the most important person here. You don't do anything. Just keep coming back and everything will be okay. We got to stop that. If keep coming back is the best you can do, stop. You're confusing people. You're making it sound like if they keep coming back that they will stay sober. But the real alcoholic will not be able to do that. The real alcoholic will... Y'all follow? There's first thing that we got to do in sponsorship. The first thing we got to do in any kind of sponsorship, whether you're a female sponsor or a male sponsor, whatever we got, if you got a guy sitting down there and we think that he wants to get well, we got to qualify him. I don't care if he's just got out of a 30-day treatment or a 90-day treatment. I don't care where he comes from another group. We got to stop long enough, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and qualify him to find out if he's a real McCoy. Because, guys, I'm proof positive that you can go to treatment, go to AA for years and years, and not know what an alcoholic looks like. Y'all follow? At a certain point, if we don't start getting well, somebody will tell a story, and you will smile and say, thank you, and think, Jesus, I've never had a DWI before. I've never blacked out before. I've never robbed a liquor store, chopped up 15 people and put them in a plastic bag. I've never done that. Never took my clothes off in public. Well, I eventually did.
Thank you for that.
Y'all understand what I'm saying? But you see, that's the stuff that if you're not telling them what a real alcoholic looks like, y'all follow? This is progressive in nature. And like I said, you can get somebody early in their illness. Stop looking at this chronologically, for one. Some of you old gray-haired boys in here are not near as far advanced as some of these younger people in here because they started using it at a younger age than we did. Make sense? I sponsored a guy one time. I did work with him. He had drank twice. And he had 2 DWIs. I mean, this little kid was in-stage alcoholic from day one, which just not even fair. I mean, he got no social life. Some of us in here have drank successfully, quote unquote, for 30, 40 years. And it was just towards the end that wheels started coming off and the symptoms became quite obvious. Y'all follow? Physical craving and the mental obsession. We were reading in Chapter of the Lives the other day. I'm just going to mention this as an offhand deal. I'm not a huge fan of that chapter, but because Bill kind of pusses out in there, you know, be gentle with him and all that. But that's my thought. But he in there twice in there talking about working with the newcomer. He said he directs the newcomer to go back and reread more about alcoholism. You follow?
Yeah.
Of course, now what they do with me is every time I relapse, they'd say, well, go read the stories in the back and maybe you can identify. Sorry for the sarcasm.
It's so good.
It's the truth.
That's what will let me off the hook. If I can't identify, y'all follow? How many of y'all ate out of dumpsters? 2 of us. So if I'm 3 of us, maybe. Give a love. I know. All right. How many of you have one eye and ate out of dumpsters? How many of you cooked for a living and had one eye and ate out of dumpsters? And some of you are laughing your ass off, and some of you are just pissed already, you know? When the obsession,
Need to identify.
Steve Wilson I've got some handouts out here after the meeting. I'll flip them to you where the steps are kind of outlined in the book. But from the doctor's opinion up to page 23, we talked about the physical phenomena called craving. You follow? This is a phenomenon that only alcoholics have. It's not something that other people deal with. Y'all follow? I watched my little sister get sick one time, and she hurled like a big dog, and she said, I'm never going to do that again. She says, I don't know why I drank so much. And I said, because it's free. You know, we were at a sorority party, first sorority party I'd ever been to. And I said, hell, it's free, let's go. And she got sick, and that was 40 years ago, and she still drinks. A little glass of wine occasionally with my mom. Socially, she'll go out and have a little cocktail, you'll follow. And at a certain point, you say, Lisa, you want another drink? She says, no, thank you, comma, I'm starting to feel it.
Ooh, God.
Feel the love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. You want another drink or not? That's her cue for, I don't want any more. The phenomenal craving does not take place in her. I've got two sisters that they didn't catch the bullet. My identical twin brother, he's talking in Sacramento today, doing the same kind of a deal over there. And he caught the bullet just like I did. Did you ever start to drink and drink more than you intended? And you get the young guys, well, I intended to get screwed up like I understand, but as you get older and get a job and that kind of stuff, I don't want to get squashed. You with us? I want to get right. Did y'all agree with that? Yeah. Guys, when alcohol was working for me, you couldn't touch me. Listen, I spent a lot of my drinking career here in Houston. I was never sober here in Houston. And I was up there, disco fever. I worked at the Warwick Hotel for years, and there were discos down there, and we'd go up there and dance, and I had them big old platform shoes and looked like an idiot. Yeah, hey, you should have seen me back then. Y'all follow? But the progressive nature of this indicates that you will have less and less likely of hitting that target downstream. I start to drink disco fever, and by the end of the night, it's a nightmare. I'm puking straight up, and making a fool of myself, and then the next morning I wake up and crying. I can't believe I did that last night. I'm never going to do that again. Y'all follow?
Yeah.
Doctor's opinion. Up to the top of page 23, we talk about what happens when I put this stuff in my system. You can cherry pick this, guys, and show a newcomer this in a heartbeat. You don't have to read the whole thing. It gets pretty basic. From 23 to 43, there's 20 pages. That's all they do is they talk about what happens when I don't have it in my system. When I stop, why can't I stay stopped? Make sense? The mental obsession. This is what kills alcoholics. If you can stop because you want to and stay stopped, I don't know what you are, but you're not an alcoholic. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to say, put the plug in the jug won't work. Come on, guys, because I can put the plug in the jug. I can stop on a dime. I've done that 1,000 times. Chris, you're coming up for a promotion. They're concerned about your drinking. I was fixing to quit anyway. And I can't stop. And about the second week in there, the girlfriends come, oh my God, Chris, you're just like, oh my gosh, you're just a dynamo. Cars washed, the balance, the checkbook, everything's great, clothes got cleaned up, everything's, man, I should have done this years ago. And for me, about the end of the second week, the wheels start to come off. I'm okay, but I become a bit irritable, restless, and discontent. Y'all follow? The spiritual malady that Bill Wilson talks about in the book. On page 52, he calls it the bedevilments. He talks about having this low self-esteem, this feeling of depression. Can you get it, sweetie? Yeah. Close your hand. I'm sorry. We can anxiety, this fearfulness, all of this stuff starts to come back. Y'all know what I'm saying? Your families are freaked out. It says, oh, she's doing so good. She's 2 weeks away from a drink and everything's great. You are. But you're fixing to sabotage it because you're fixing to die. You with us? In other words, the pain of staying sober is gradually outweighing the benefits. I got to tell you guys, there's some of y'all have been sober 30 years in here and your family still don't understand that. They think you're well because you stopped drinking. Alcohol's not the problem.
That's right.
Alcohol's the solution. If all I do is don't drink one day at a time, I will gradually become so uncomfortable in my skin I can't stand it. And the obsession will come back. You'll follow? With me, I'm classic with me. Y'all, we've talked about it here 1,000 times. I'll be bebopping along, be irritable, restless, and discontent, driving around. I've done it here in Houston 1,000 times. Driving around the freeway, flipping people off, hating the radio stations, hating the people, just a hater. You know what I'm saying? 2 weeks sober, everything should be okay, everything's all right. Yeah, stupid job. I need to give me another job. I don't know why they put. You know, they put up with your crap for years, but now all of a sudden you're ready to move on. You know? And the same with a woman. You know, I mean, who am I hanging around? You know, bunch of losers, and it's just. And I walk into that 7-Eleven, and I go back there to that cooler, and I open it up, and I grab me a Dr. Pepper, and I stop. And that little voice, same voice, different substance with some of y'all saying, you could probably have one beer. Some of you too, you could smoke a joint. You could eat that pill. A half a pill. Yeah, that's okay. See, the problem is that you drank too much, Crid. That's the problem. It's not that you drank. I like to my wife that packed and left after I came home after I had a couple of beers. My deal with her was simple. I was not going to touch another drop. And I told her I wasn't going to do it, and I meant it with every fiber in my body. I get crazy with some of y'all in here, and you got some of these old cats in the rooms, and when you know your mouth's moving, you're lying. That's not true. That may be true for you, but it's not true for me. My daddy raised me a pretty dadgum honest little buckaroo. I was on the front row of the Baptist church every time the door was open. I know right from wrong. Did I lie sometimes? Yes. But as a person, as an entity, that's not me. When I told her I was going to stop, I wasn't blowing smoke. I meant it. I didn't understand that I didn't have the power to manage the decision to stay stopped. Talking to a counselor out in California last week. If I mentioned the treatment center, everybody in here would know the name of it. It's a big, famous treatment center. And this lady's in there talking. And she said, well, Chris, you know, once these alcoholics, once they start to drink, they've got no choice. I mean, they're powerless at that point. I knew what was coming. Yes, ma'am, that's correct. But before they put it in their body, they certainly have a choice. Really? No, they don't. Big book. Turn to page 24 real quick. So those of you that brought them. Italicized writing on page 24. Bill Wilson gets in a roll here. He explains what the mental obsession looks like, and then he gives you 3 stories in there specifically. You know, Jim the car salesman, the American businessman, and Fred the businessman. Oh my God, it's one of the best stories in the world. Page 24, it says, the fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, Bill Wilson's trying to be very diplomatic, didn't want to jam this down anybody's throat, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory and suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink. Our judicial system is built on this idea that we'll continue to punish your little butt until you get tired of being punished, and then you'll quit drinking. And a lot of people can do that. Hard drinkers, moderate drinkers. Bill Wilson talks about it on page 20 and 21. He talks about the moderate drinker, the hard drinker, then he says, but what about the real alcoholic victim to that? Feel the love. But y'all realize that that's an anomaly in here? Because I guarantee you I could go to some other places and do this same talk, and there wouldn't be anybody that would chant that. Because they're not buying that. Make sense? I'm standing in front of that cooler, grabbing that Dr. Pepper out and sitting like that, and I hear that voice, you could probably have one drink. Did I remember eating out of dumpsters in Houston, Texas off South Post Oak? Did I remember the ash chewing I took from that food and beverage director? Did I remember that woman that left me because I got too drunk that? I'm trying to rationalize and justify why it's okay for me to put one beer. And I still think that I can put one drink in my system, and this time, it hasn't worked the last 50,000 times, but this time, because I'm in therapy or because I'm this or that, I'm going to be able to do it. Y'all follow? I chose it, take the Dr. Pepper out, start to turn around, walk up to the counter, and I hear that little voice, what are you, a pussy? No, I'm not. I absolutely am not. And, you know, the ladies, who are you talking to? Put the Dr. Pepper back, grab the beer, stop. Put the beer back, grab a quart. If it's going to be one beer, it's going to be a big beer. You little guys now, you got them kegs like this big around. I'd have died. Y'all understand that? I'd have died if we'd had that when I was out there. He's got a little tube. You can just put it in the back seat.
With a little air pump.
Oh, come on. That was an alcoholic that designed that, I guarantee you. Just find out. I don't know. In 1987, after that suicide attempt, though, guys, and I go back into this meeting, and after the meeting was over, I picked up another desire check. And this old guy got around me, and he said, he had the old glasses on like I wear, and he says, Chris, I need to ask you a question. I need to ask you a simple question. Are you done? See, the big book, if you knew what was in the big book, it says quite clearly, it asks the question, not, are you done today? I'm not going to get in that argument with anybody. If you need that, stay sober, have a nice life. The book says, are you done? It starts with a commitment. And I said, yes. He said, Chris, you don't have a clue how to live a life at a day at a time. We're going to show you. We're going to work these steps with you pretty quick if you're interested. And I said, I am. Make sense? And that night, they sat down. They were I was detoxing. They were wanting to go home to dinner, but they stopped in a club kind of like this, not near as nice, up in North Texas. And they got me in a table down there, and they opened up the big book. I didn't have one. 7 years in AA, I don't even own a big book. Never had a sponsor, never sponsored a single person. And they opened up this book, and they showed me the circle triangle, and they said, Chris, let's find out why you keep relapsing. I said, I'll tell you why, because I'm in the food business, and everybody drinks in the food business. I'm surrounded by triggers, and everybody like... And they said, yeah, no, I don't think so. We have a suspect that you are the real McCoy here. Let's find out why you can't stay sober. This is novel stuff to me. They said, what's recovery? And I said, it's the steps. I've been around long enough to know that. He said, very good. Have you worked the steps? Well, I'm working my steps to the best of my ability. Working. No. You're early in sponsorship, you're fixing it, and somebody says that means no, they're not. And I said, Chris, come on. Like, he took a little X and put it there on the recovery piece. He did it in pencil in his book, so I didn't care. What the heck? Unity. It says, what's unity? I said, it's meetings. Well, that's pretty good, Chris. Yeah, you go into meetings? Because meeting makers make it. And he rolled his eyes and he says, I'll give you a check on that. And he gave me a little check. He said, what's service? I said, well, it's washing coffee cups and cleaning up. And he said, that's a part of it, but that's not the service the big book's talking about. That's an absolute way to serve. Absolutely. Our service is to carry the message to the newcomer. Right. Y'all look up here, fifth tradition down, 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. One primary purpose. It's not to therapize you. It's not to lend you money. It's not to get you a... We have one primary purpose. We do all of that, but our primary purpose is to help you stay sober. Would y'all agree?
Yes.
God, it's amazing how many people seem to forget that. That's why we have so many open discussion meetings where we're going to solve your problem. Oh my God. We need another one of those like we need to be shot in the head. I'm not knocking those meetings. If you want to go to one of those meetings, go. Go to 2 a week. God, could we have a couple of big book studies thrown in there too so we can figure out how to finish a 4-step? That might be cool. Just a thought. I don't know. Just a thought. He gave me a little X on that service piece because I hadn't sponsored anybody in all these years. He said, so we got a 3-part program designed to treat a 3-part illness, and you're in exactly 1 part, and that's why you can't stay sober. Y'all follow?
Yeah.
Guys, I've seen hundreds of counselors and therapists and psychiatrists and doctors that work in the treatment field that have relapsed. How could they possibly relapse? They know everything there is to know about alcoholism. A head full of knowledge and no action whatsoever. And it's the same thing. I don't have to get... Everybody wants to blame the treatment industry. Oh, that industry is ruined you. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with what you stopped doing. Make sense? That's why it drives me crazy. When we get out here, we start working overtime and sponsorship, trying to make sure that you work at a job that's not going to cause you any kind of, I had a sponsee one time that owned a liquor store. And every counselor up in North Texas said, you need to sell that liquor store. I'm trying to get yes to me. See, the 10-step promises are pretty clear, guys. And we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. Got it? We haven't even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. That means if I'm a nurse and worked all my life, and I got a great degree, and I'm supporting my kids, and the only thing I can do is push that red card and say, I've heard a counselor say it 1,000. You can't do that anymore because you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic. That's rubbish. Instead of telling her, hon, why don't we work the steps at a pretty good clip, and you can recover, and then you can go out there and kick some butt. Because that's what you're supposed to be doing out there. You're supposed to be re-entering the mainstream of life. You're not supposed to be attached to a meeting the rest of your life. Oh, I can't possibly do that because, y'all follow?
Yes.
The picture that we paint, what real recovery looks like, is breathtaking. Yeah. The simple fact that I introduced myself, and there's some other people in this room that introduce themselves as recovered alcoholics, I cannot tell you how many emails I get around the world. Well, my counselor at Hazleton said you can't ever recover. Your counselor at Hazleton was wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be abrasive. You can absolutely recover. What does Bill Wilson say on the title page of the book? He says you can recover. Page 132. We have recovered and been given the power to help others. I can send you documents that I've got that got every page that the book says you can recover on. And yet we still have the gall to stand up. The book on page 129 tells us to introduce ourselves to the newcomer as a person who has recovered.
Yes.
Well, I'm still struggling. I'm still sick. 1 second at a time. I might break any minute, but maybe I can help you. I don't think so. I don't think so. I want the little rocket. I want the little Roman candle in the corner laughing his ass off, living life large. That's who I want. We just got too many people sharing stuff that they don't understand, and that's okay. That's all right. Does introducing myself as a recovered alcoholic mean that I can't relapse? Come on, guys. I could get sick again. I've watched thousands of us get sick again. Over a period of time, we're watching gazillions of us in the fellowship right now relapsing on prescription medications. And it's just, why did we start taking them? We got spiritually sick. We got back, we stopped going to meetings. We stopped sponsoring people. We backed up the things that we were doing when we got here. We quit doing, and then we got sick again. That's just the way it is. Get well again. Introduce yourself as recovered and go on about the business. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Y'all follow?
Right.
Let me say this, and I'm going to move on real quick. Every shot that I've ever heard out there on the internet of people taking shots at Alcoholics Anonymous, that's the first thing they go to. Who wants to be a part of a fellowship where every day you have to introduce yourself as somebody that's still sick? And it's hard to argue that. Make sense? Guys, I'm not cured. I will die with alcoholism. And I will always be around recovery. But I am as recovered as I'm going to get. 2 weeks after getting to this fellowship, those guys had worked me through the steps. I got a completed 4-step, and they're showing me the disciplines of 10, 11, and 12 already. They want me to start chairing meetings. They want me to get involved in the group. There wasn't any of this sit on your butt business. And they got it together with me, and then they started showing me. And I'm sitting on the tailgate, and it dawns on me that the obsession to use sometime in that 2 weeks had lifted completely. And this wasn't this, I'm afraid to drink. This was, what's the big deal? I'm as solid as I recovered 2 weeks in. I've watched thousands of people recover sitting in treatment centers. And they got somebody out here that wants to take a shot at them every time they turn around.
That's right.
You can't recover in 2 weeks. Bill Wilson was on his 9th day in Towns Hospital when he had his barn-burning spiritual experience. Eddie was doing the work with him in the hospital. You want to tell me that didn't happen? And if it happened to Bill Wilson, why can't it happen to me? Y'all understand where we're at? Oh, yeah. I'm not trying to make it uncomfortable. I'm just saying we need to start looking at this a little bit differently. Right. We need to stop painting this picture like this is some kind of self-help program. We're a mutual aid society. And that's what I want to talk about later this afternoon, some of that. I need all of y'all in here to help me stay on the path, and I'm going to do what I can do to help you stay on the path. But guys, once that obsession's gone, you're as recovered as you're going to get. Now we need to go out there, we need to get some little newcomers. Mm-hmm. Y'all follow?
Yep.
The old timer said, y'all turn on the bottom. I gave y'all a page number a minute ago. It wasn't 129, it's 90. 129 is where I want you to turn right now. I want you to look at something. It's in a chapter of Family Afterwards. At the bottom, even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and see that one?
Yep.
All right. Even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards his family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. This is exactly opposite of what those people told me up in North Texas when I was trying to get sober. You're not sober long enough to help anybody. How can you help them? You can't even help yourself. Hold that thought. You're right. I can't. This is not a self-help program. I'm not going to fix myself. You'll follow? But if I've been given God's grace, the obsession to use is lifted, and I'm on some pretty solid ground, and you want to stay there, go help somebody.
There you go.
It didn't say go sponsor somebody. We're going to get that. In order to sponsor, you've got to have worked the steps. But if you're brand new in here and you've got a couple of days under your belt, you go out there in that coffee room, I guarantee you sometime today, you'll find somebody that smells like booze. It's an aftershave, and it's an indicator that that boy needs some help. You slide up to him and talk to him. Show him where you buy big books. Show him where you get the big books. Talk to him about the coffee etiquette, where you put the money for coffee. Oh, you don't have any money? Let me buy you a cup of coffee. Thank you. Thank you for caring enough to reach out. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Say it.
I mean, it's first century Christianity is all this was. We stole this from the Christian. Clean up your crap. Isn't that the truth? Clean up your crap and go help somebody else.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, but we've gotten so therapized on this. Oh no, you've got to work through this and work through that. And we're going to talk about it after dinner, at the next hour. We'll break that apart a little bit. Here's the deal. There's a guy out in Florida named William White. I bust him from the podium. He's a great writer, and worked for the publishing company called Chestnut Publishing. But anyway, if y'all email me, I can flip you a couple articles that he wrote about this transformational event. One of the things that he talks about in a very long, eloquent way, he talks about the spiritual experience and what happens to us when this spiritual experience takes place. And he talks about there's a window of opportunity. A lot of times when I'm doing these talks, I'll write on the board a little window. And that's, how many of you guys have you've left treatment and you feel better than you've ever felt in your life? Y'all follow? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course then you come into the meeting and you're laughing and you're talking and you're singing God's praises and everything's fine. And again, somebody feels like it's their responsibility to explain to you that what you're experiencing is a pink cloud. And pretty soon, that's it. The nerve of you to be happy. I know you're a few weeks away from a suicide attempt, but hey, don't let it go to your head. I mean, God, really, guys. And somebody will tell you, and it won't last. And come on, guys, we'll be the first to tell you it won't last. I mean, that's what life is about, ups and downs, ups and downs. You're not always going to be on the top of the mountain. Sometimes you'll be in the valley. Welcome to life. Yeah. That's just the way it is. But because somebody is happy doesn't mean that we got to take a shot at them.
That's right.
There's no such thing as a pink cloud. It's called God's grace.
Yeah.
And if you want to get to a place where you can visit that spot more often and like maybe stay pretty close to it, there is a window of opportunity. The biggest mistake we make in Alcoholics Anonymous today, the biggest mistake we make in all of our other 12-step fellowships, I don't care what they are, is we go too slow. Somewhere along the lines, and I can trace it straight to treatment centers, we have slowed everybody down.
Yeah.
Historically, we had another hour, I could tell you the history of how that all happened, but downstream, that's exactly what happened. We had all these people coming in, and everybody in treatment slowed you down. You'll follow?
Yeah.
Because you're going to be here in 30 days. You don't want to go too fast.
Exactly.
I work with them. I'm not knocking treatment centers. I'm a huge fan of treatment centers. I'm just saying the damage is we slowed it down. And the sad part is Alcoholics Anonymous, we let it happen. We let them bring that crap living sober book in. We let them bring all the other topics out there. And what happened was we got sideways. We got sidetracked. There was an urgency. Read the history around Bill Wilson and Bill's story. And then Dr. Bob and Vision for You, what happened? Guys, none of these people, they went out and found number 3 and number 4, and Clarence Snyder got in there. None of these people were taking longer than a few weeks to work the steps.
That's right.
Let me repeat myself. None of these people, when we had a 75% success rate, were taking longer than a few weeks to work the steps. You want to take 30 days? Okay, I don't argue with that.
Step a month.
2 months? All right, go ahead. Lock to your drop. You might survive. Come on, guys. We got people sitting in here right now. I guarantee you, telling the newcomer, I want you to read the doctor's opinion for 2 months, and then we'll discuss it. Right. Sure. Just got off the phone with one in the parking lot with Patty earlier. Just the sponsors got him reading and rereading the first 3 steps. I think that's fine, but nowhere in the book does it say do that.
That's right.
There's a sense of urgency. When the window closes and the obsession to drink Boone's Farm apple wine comes back to me.
Bring that deal. Put a name on it.
Yeah, that's urgency.
I was in Canada in the airport, and there was a display of that. And I'd never seen it since. I hadn't seen it in 26 years. And there was a whole display. It's just as green as it ever was, you know? I hadn't seen it green ever. I don't know what they put in it. And it'll get you downtown quick. I got twins over here. obsession to use, ladies, when the obsession to use comes back, what are you going to do? Drink. You see, when the obsession leaves, then you don't have to worry about triggers and people, places, and things. You don't have to worry about that. All you got to do is pack your bags and let's go to Vegas. We're going to eat like pigs and we're going to have a great time or whatever. You know, saying we can go to that party. We can go do what we want to do. Early sobriety, if that stuff makes you nervous, then don't. But I'm saying you can't sit on the sidelines and wait for this miracle to happen.
That's right.
The miracle doesn't happen because I'm sitting on my butt waiting. The miracle happens because I get up and actually start taking some action on my own behalf. Big Book says over and over, action, action, and more action. You'll follow?
Yes.
Guys, I'm going to say this real quick. We have about 10 minutes and we'll take a break. See, nobody out there was trying to hurt me. I remember going in a meeting up in North Texas, up in Denton, Texas one time, and I showed my butt at a work function, and the boss has kind of gotten in my face about it a little bit, and so this is after my wife's left, my first wife, and she left because I drank, and I told her I wasn't going to do it anymore. You can't blame her. And I go back into this room, and it's after the meeting, you know, we're coming up. I picked up a chip, and this old guy comes up, and he's like some of y'all in here. He's got this old beat-up Big Book with duct tape around it. You know, he's obviously been using this thing, something other than a coffee coaster. And he comes up and he asks the question. He said, "But we're going to go down and have a hamburger. You want to come with us? And we're going to do a little step work while we're doing that." And I look over his shoulders, and there's a lady back there by the coffee room. She's cleaning up the coffee stuff out there, and she goes, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, it's my luck. I got the one pedophile in the whole place. He seemed like a nice guy. I don't know. And I dusted him. I said, I got to go back to work. And he just says, okay, well, we do this every Tuesday. You come with us sometime. And all right. And I walked back there and helped the lady clean up the coffee a little bit. I said, buddy, what was that about? She says, oh, he's the nicest old guy. You know, we just love to have him around here, but he's a Big Book thumper from Hale. All he does is talk about Big Book stuff. And right now, little brother, you don't need to worry about that. All you need to do is keep coming back, and everything's going to be okay.
Wow.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. Was the guy looking out for me? Yes. Was the lady looking out for me? No, she was. There was nothing animosity there. She fought. That's how she had been sponsored. I don't know if she was a real alcoholic or not. This is the problem. This is my sponsor said do it this way. I'm not going to argue with that. I'm saying, what does the Big Book say?
Yes.
If we could just go back to what the literature says, I think we would see a lot more people staying sober. In this last hour over here, I'm going to talk about this willing to go to any lengths, and I'm going to talk about some of that. All of y'all, if you're sponsoring somebody, you're going to add some stuff to the mix. This is what I would like you to do if I'm sponsoring you. This is what I expect. Add all you want to it, but don't subtract from it. The basic stuff. Make sense? We're trying to follow the thread that Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob and those first guys that got sober. We're trying to follow the thread of what they did in order to stay sober. This window of opportunity. This guy, they showed me that first night. I drove home excited as I'd ever been because I finally realized, Chris, I'm not manic depressive. I'm not borderline schizophrenic. All these diagnoses that I have, I'm not knocking any of that. I'm not clinically depressed. I have untreated alcoholism.
Yes.
See? That's for me. I'm not saying stop taking your meds. I'm saying that's for me. Because these guys showed me the circle triangle and it helped me identify what real alcoholism looked like. For the first time, I got comfortable in my skin, and I said, you know what? I'm a real alcoholic. That's what I am. Even though my stories are different than yours, I'm a real alcoholic. Sponsorship in this country is divided between completely ineffectual. We'll get with you next week. We'll start this work one day. Thank you for nothing. I appreciate that. Or dictatorial. You'll follow? And somewhere we're in between is that we've got what real sponsorship looks like. Y'all know the dictatorial stuff. You'll follow?
Oh, yeah. I
don't want you to talk to anybody that I don't say is okay. I want you to work at this job, and you need to divorce that woman, and you need to stop wearing those clothes, and take those piercings out of your ears. Y'all,
Yeah, right.
what's that got to do with anything? Y'all follow? These are people practicing junior therapy. It might work for them. They're not going to work necessarily for you. One job we got, guys. Y'all follow? I got some little stickers too for you guys want them. I had these made. I coded these too so they last on the back of your books. Most of the stickers I did, I cheaped out. And they wear off. These were the other stickers I had done. And they'll wear off real quick on your hands, but these are pretty good. Yeah, there's a letter written in 1942. It's in As Bill Sees It. I think it's on 105 and As Bill Sees It. There's an excerpt from the letter, and I think all of y'all should get it. I got my little AA club up the outpost in Ingram, Texas. We got a big sign that says this on the wall. Our chief responsibility to the newcomer is an adequate presentation of the program.
Adequate. Adequate.
Sing it, brother. Whoever said adequate.
Mm-hmm.
Keep coming back is not adequate presentation of the program. Oh, don't worry about him. He'll come back. When it hurts bad enough, he'll come. No. When he hurts bad enough, he'll go drink. He'll do that 4-step when he gets good and ready. No, he won't. At what point do we get to this spot where the newcomer's supposed to know the questions to ask? When are we going to take some charge and take some responsibility of grabbing hold of this little guy and showing him what we need to do in order to get well? And if he doesn't want to do it, then that's fine. I come across lots of people like that. Everybody says they want to get sober, but most of them don't. They want the pain to go away. But to walk a spiritual path with us, they're not interested. These guys in 1987, after 7 years in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, picking up gazillions of chips, these guys gave me finally an adequate presentation of what the program looked like. We're going to get you sober, we're going to get you on some solid ground, and then you're going to start sponsoring people.
Bingo.
Because that's what we do. And the people that had to wait 5 years to sponsor, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you lived. I'm not watching people relapse because they work the steps incorrectly. One of the stuff we're going to talk about after, I'm going to give you a quick rundown through the steps. I don't care how you work the steps, guys. I've been accused of being a step technician. I'm not. I don't care. Again, I'm going to repeat it. I don't have the people that we're seeing relapse are not the people that didn't do a third column inventory and a fourth, on their I don't care how. It's the people that didn't do it at all. The people that didn't do it at all were people that were let off the hook and allowed to sit in their rooms and gradually go crazy, and then when they left. And I got to tell you guys, I'm going to defend the little newcomers. Sometimes those little guys, they always get blamed. Every time I went back out, there was some sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous blamed me. And I played a part of that. Could I have asked the questions? Yes, I suppose, but I didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't know where to buy a big book. I didn't know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. And nobody had the time to slow down with me and show me. And that's why I'm such a fanatic about this sponsorship business, guys. I sponsor a whole lot of guys. You could sponsor a whole bunch. You can't sponsor a whole bunch at one time, but you can sponsor them, get them through, push them out. My job as a sponsor is to give you an adequate presentation of the program, and then to hold you accountable after that. If you need somebody to talk to about something, you want to bounce something off, I can do that. If I don't know the answer, I'll call Ken. He knows everything. We'll help him. He does. I find out. See, that's the beauty of it. I realize that we could rule the world with what we've got in here. The knowledge that we have in here, we could change the world. If we would all start pushing on this in the same direction, we'd be set like a champ. Y'all follow?
Yeah.
It's with our recovery. It's with anything that we're talking about. We look like fools out there sometimes because we're all on a different page. Yeah, and we need to all get back on the same page. It's called the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is what started it. This is what worked for them. This would be good. Y'all good?
Yes.
Let's smoke and eat.
Once again, y'all, my name is Kenneth. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Kenneth.
And we have certain traditions. The Delta Club is, and the Karen and Sharon group is honored us by allowing us to put on this 12-step sponsorship workshop. So we're going to ask, as we pass the 7th tradition basket, that you give generously. What they generally say is that welcome home. I'm not welcome home.
My name's Chris Raven. I'm very grateful for Covered Alcoholics. Yeah. If everybody be quiet, it'll sound louder. I think. There you go. You're good. You got it? You got a few extra in here. See the food. I mean, it just brings it. It's like a magnet. That was some good food too.
Yes, it was.
Yes. Whoever cooked it, thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're talking about a little bit, and of course at break y'all always ask the greatest questions. I wish you'd ask them later so everybody could hear them. But the purpose of this is not to examine anybody. If you're doing this right, or you're doing this wrong. The purpose of this is to try to become more effective in what we're accomplishing. What I want to do is I want to get to a place where I can find a way that I can sponsor more guys, not less. I want to see the guys that I'm working with. I want to see more of them staying sober than relapse. I mean, best sponsorship on earth is not going to help somebody that's not done, not finished.
That's true.
That's the nature of the beast. But for all of us, we want to be more effective in what we're trying to accomplish. One of the things that I've done in treatment center business for years is try to connect the recovering community with the knuckleheads just getting out of treatment. And I've done that pretty successfully, but I got to tell you, it's a challenge. I was talking to some of the cats in here earlier, and it's number one phone call that I get from all over the world is women looking for women sponsors. People hear what I'm saying and they think we're taking a shot at the women. There's lots of women sober in AA. Of course there is. There's not too many women though that want to actually do the work with another woman. And that's not an opinion. That's just absolute fact. You may be in a group where you've got everybody in there in the trench ready to work. There's lots of women that would like to go to lunch with you and show you the best places to buy scents. I don't know. But there's not too many of them out there that know how to finish a fourth step and show you how to make your amends. And I know that, but I know they're out there, but they get. My experience is that the few that do it they just get burnt out. They get overworked. Everybody that comes in the room goes to the same person, and part of that's our mistake. Part of that is I could sponsor every kid that asks me to sponsor. I could make room, but I'm not doing them a service when I do that. What I need to do is I need to start flipping them to guys I'm sponsoring. This is a guy, he's only got one little guy right now. He could take another one, and that's the way it should work. It's in the same lineage. They're going to learn the same things. But you could be more effective that way. And again, if some of y'all would sponsor a few more, I wouldn't have to sponsor so many.
Right.
Just saying. Okay.
Bingo!
Somebody asked me too, I'm going to mention this, we have a question and answer on sponsorship pamphlet, and I think everybody should read it and then put it in a drawer. It's just not one of my favorites. Again, the literature that you end up reading around the big book has a tendency to dilute the message. It goes back to the little grapevine deal. I love the grapevine, but just don't drink and go to meetings. It's a bad message. It's incorrect. If you can just go to meetings and not drink, again, you're not one of us. You're not an honorable audience. And this is great, except it doesn't mention the steps too much, except at the very end. And there's a great line in it that says that you can stay sober without a spiritual experience, without a belief in a higher power. Yeah. Oh. Again, I'm cognizant in treatment. I'm cognizant out there in AA land of how many mixed messages. Anything that I say that confuses you, I gotta. At a certain point, we all look goofy because we're all doing it a little different. And I understand that the steps are to be done a little bit different. That's a fact, and I could care less. But the process is pretty simple, guys.
Yep.
It's pretty simple. It's kind of what I want to talk to you a little bit. I've got a little handout. I didn't hand it out because I didn't want you reading it while I'm trying to talk about it. And after this is over, you guys can come up and I've got this. And if you don't get one because it's not enough, again, you email me and I'll flip you all kinds of good stuff. Little thumper stuff that you might be able to use with the folks in your lineage that would help you. The closer we can get to Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson, I think the better it's going to be. If you ask any of those guys that are connected, they'll tell you that what we're talking about is pretty dead on accurate. So I'm going to talk about that in the last part of this hour. First part, I want to give you a little rundown of kind of how this step will look. And again, depending on let's say I've got a new little protege and he's detoxing. Maybe he didn't go to treatment and he's detoxing. He's coming off all kinds of medications. We see a lot of that out there now. It's my heyday when I get just a garden variety alcoholic. You know, it's usually not. Usually we've got a lot of meds on board, and it makes the detox a little goofy. And so we got to, you know, I might not be able to go as fast with this guy coming off a gabillion milligrams of benzos and opiates. I might need to go a little slower with that cat. He's lucky that he remembers to zip his pants up after he. I'm just saying.
That's right.
But you give me a little alcoholic while he's still shaking. Let's get it. You know, you strike while the iron's hot, folks.
Yeah.
Because like I said, Bill Wilson talked a lot about Dr. Silkworth. Oh my gosh, I've got some great articles that Dr. Silkworth wrote, and I'll send them to you if you want to talk. He talks about the resurgence of the ego. We get to see this in treatment all the time. Guy will come into treatment and he's all busted up. And, Chris, I'm so glad you're here. You know, it's okay. Here we go. Isn't it? I'll do anything to get sober and crying. And you can have my firstborn child. Does the wife come with it? All right, this is good. They'll do anything. You know, they're crying and they're like that, and that's fine. And then about 3 days later, you go down and check on him, and he's 3 days, and about the time the last Ativan's out of his system, you know, and he's feeling pretty good, and you can always find him. He'll be out there with sunglasses on, kick back, and stupid hat turned on crooked. I'm starting to sound like an old man up here. If you want to wear your hat like that, go ahead. This is where you wear a hat. Stand up real quick. This is where you wear a cap. Let's turn around to the audience. This is what you wear.
Prime example.
Want to be gangster stuff. But you'll see him in the detox. They'll be back there. I mean, 3 days ago, this guy was crying. I'll do anything. I'll go to any length. And then, you're with us, 3 days later, the ego's already started to rebuild itself. He's met this girl.
Ego repaired.
I saw her coming out of detox, and I knew that God had sent her to me. And now you can't get a word in edgewise. And listen, I'm not one to say you can't date in early sobriety. I'm just saying, buddies, anything you put between you and that higher power, whatever it is going to get removed. I'm just telling you.
That's right.
And I think you can do both. I think you can get a job, go to the gym, go back to church. I don't know. Go date. I don't care. Dating and recovery, as far as I'm concerned, is okay. I'm not drinking because of the date. Y'all understand that?
Yeah.
Every time somebody relapses, my wife divorced me. So you're going to blame that for your relapse? That's a lie. Come on, let's get on the same page. There's only 2 reasons that you will relapse. Okay? Honest to God. You don't know what the problem is, and you don't know what the solution is.
Bottom line.
You know what the problem is, you're going to do the solution. The lurking notion that Bill Wilson talks about in the big book, he says that we got to smash this idea that we're like other people. The lurking notion is, I can stop drinking, but I can still smoke pot. Would you consider that a lurking notion? Yeah. We see tons of it. We said, I can stop drinking, but I can still eat pills. And some pills you might be able to, and some you can't. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just saying. The lurking notion is that I can come in here, sit on my ass, just go to a whole bunch of meetings, 3 a day, and expect to stay sober.
Yep.
Okay. Listen, and I'm not laughing, and I'm not joking, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm absolutely honest. If that worked for you, rock on. I'm just saying, for the real alcoholic, that won't work.
Right.
We got so back in the day, the cat that brought. I don't know if Dick's still here. The intergroup, Houston intergroup last year. I had a chance.
Dick's still here.
I got an opportunity to come up, and I didn't speak. I didn't do anything. I just got a chance to sit in here and listen to the old timers talk about the way it was in the early beginning. And they talked about Larry Jewell, the cat that brought Alcoholics Anonymous to Houston. And this guy had never been to a meeting. They gave him a big book, put him on a train from Cleveland up Ohio someplace, drove him back. Came down here, got a job at the newspaper, and started some meetings and started working with drunks. And pretty soon, look what happened. Because these guys understood their primary purpose. We're alive today. I don't know how you can talk about that and not get emotional. If this guy didn't come back down and telling people that you got to go to a meeting every day, because there weren't any meetings. All right, because I got to get it out of the way. Am I knocking meetings? Because all of y'all end up emails. I get at least 3 emails every time I do this talk. Somebody comes and say, Chrissy, you're knocking me. I'm not knocking me. I go to meetings, just not every day. But I go to meetings. It's part of the 3 legacies. I got to work the steps, I got to go to meetings, and I got to sponsor somebody. If you do that, you're going to be golden. You'll follow? That's all I'm saying. When I sit down with a newcomer, when I get a little guy coming in, the first thing I'm going to do that night, unless the druggy buggy's fixing to haul him back to the treatment center.
Druggy buggies.
I got 15 to 20 minutes with a guy. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to qualify him. I'm going to find out. One, I want to find out if he's a real alcoholic or not. I want to find out if he's a drug addict or maybe he's a combination of the both. Because I need to know if I can help this guy. If he's just a drug addict and he's hiding out in AA, I need to try to help him get to some Drug Addicts Anonymous or Cocaine Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, some of our other fellowships out there that might be able to help him better.
Yeah.
I can only transmit what I've got.
Right.
Y'all understand?
Okay.
That's why I'll give you an example. I can't. I get asked a lot of times, people in Sex Addicts Anonymous, if I could sponsor them, and I can't. I can correspond with you. I can love on you. I can encourage you to the max. But I'm not a sex addict, and I don't know what that looks like. And I think I would be full of myself if I thought that I could help them simply because I understood the 12 steps. You need somebody that's walked in your shoes.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it, y'all understand where I'm at?
Yeah, exactly.
They're welcome in our meetings. I could care less. But singleness of purpose, as far as I'm concerned, goes past not talking about drugs. It also goes past let's not talk about something that's got nothing to do with recovery. Y'all follow? In our meeting formats, I'll get this out of the way now. A big push for all of us to go in there and look at our meeting formats and consider possibly changing some of those formats. Again, I don't know how in AA today, a little guy comes in, he starts talking about smoking crack, and we'll stop him in a heartbeat. And should. I got no problem. I got no truck with that. This is a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. We're here to talk about alcohol. I'm with that. And the next lady that starts sharing, she's talking about her grandkids.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You tell me the difference. It's completely outside the realm. I don't have any grandkids. Y'all follow?
Yeah.
Boy, some of you don't. I can share anything I want in a meeting. Okay, I disagree. I just think we need to be there for the newcomer. We may get one shot at that cat. You got to make sure that we're sharing the hope. Next time you get a chance, sit in your AA meeting, sit in the back. Don't share that meeting. Just be quiet. Close your little eyes and take a little siesta. Pay attention. Listen. Is the newcomer hearing what he needs to hear in order to get excited about this program? I sit down with the newcomer, I sit down with a cat without a bunch of distractions, and I'm going to open up my book, because he may or may not have one, and we're going to go this circle triangle a little bit. I'm going to try to help him understand why he continues to relapse. And then I'm going to qualify him. I'm going to ask him, do you understand what it means to be a real alcoholic? And I'm going to ask him the 2 questions that the big book asks me to ask you. Not 44 questions, not 22 questions. Y'all follow? Get down, sit down, fight. No, 2 questions. 2 questions. When you drink, can you guarantee how much you're going to drink every time? And when you're not drinking, can you stop and stop and walk? Can you choose to quit and be done? Stop means stop. It doesn't mean stop for a few weeks. We can all do that. Most of us, if the illness hasn't progressed very far, you can stop for short periods of time. Can you stay stopped?
Yeah.
Put another way, are you comfortable in your skin when you're not drinking?
Yeah.
There's no freedom when abstinence is painful. That's not sobriety.
Yeah.
That's not drinking one stupid day at a time. That's not sobriety. Y'all understand? Y'all got any idea how many times alcohol, the obsession to drink has come back to me in 26 years? None. This is what happens when you. But it doesn't mean that I'm perfect or good. I understand. I remember what it was like back in the day, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. The war stories didn't stop me. There was a cat out there. I'm going to run out of time with it, but some of y'all read Spiritual Experience in the back of the book, William James, the little excerpt. If any of y'all get a chance, because I know some of y'all are readers, if you can get a copy of that book, it's pretty special. It's not like laying out by the pool page turner. It's a bear to read. It's complicated. Varieties of the religious experience. You can read it. But in that book, William James talks about it. He said, at a certain point, you're going to reach a spot where you can no longer tolerate the misery. And at that point, you're as ready to get well as you can get.
Right.
The problem in my grinder is if somebody's not there with the solution, we're going to miss that window of opportunity that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody's assuming, well, the treatment centers took care of that. Well, the counselor took care of that. Well, this, don't assume, Jack. Let's just go back over this. It takes 10 minutes. Ask them, physical craving, mental obsession. There's one sentence on page 44 in chapter of the agnostics. In that first paragraph, it sums up the 2 questions that we're supposed to ask. That little handout that we just handed out shows you where it talks about the first step. It's that important, guys. It's so important. Because if the little guy sees that he's the real McCoy, guys, that's just about nothing that you can do to knock him off dead center here. He's going to finish the work. Yeah? If I'm sitting down working the steps with this guy, I'm going to spend some time with that. If we've got a little time, we may start talking about God. Generally, what happens is they're really tired. They're detoxing kind of hard usually at that time. And I'm going to give them a day. You know, we'll pick this back up in the morning. And I'm usually going to have coffee with them. It's not going to be meet me at the meeting necessarily. I'm going to have coffee with them. And then we're going to start talking about this God stuff. And this is where I know some of your hairs will catch on fire and you'll start spinning around like the Exorcist. Big Book says in chapter of the agnostics that about half of us had a problem with God. That means the other half didn't.
Yeah.
And so if you're sitting there spinning, I can't get it twisted. That's because a lot of people, they want to do the same thing. Well, I want you to go make a list of the attributes you want God to have, and I want all these. They give all these exercises. But you know, the Big Book, in the process of doing that, there's a proposition. You know, God either is or isn't, and we're going to have to get down to it. And he's talking to the guy, and he says, you know what, I really don't have a problem with God. You know what, I think that there might be something to that. Move on.
Yeah.
From that point.
If you guys struggling, let's spend some time talking about that. I'm okay with that. We're not jamming any religion down anybody's throat. But I mean, guys, Hank Parker's, when he put this in there with Bill Wilson deal, it's like, God of your understanding. I mean, come on, folks. How open and minded can we be? The guy says, I don't believe in God. Okay, are you willing maybe to believe that there might be something out there bigger than you? Absolutely not. I'm it. Okay, all right.
Let me try something else.
Because I have some numbers, there's some other 12-step fellowships out there that don't use God at all. SOS is one of them, and there's fellowships for atheists. I'm not going to make fun of somebody's belief, but I'm not going to jam it down their throat. Right. I don't have to talk you into believing in God. If I do, I'm defeating the purpose. AA is unapologetically about God.
Yep.
Why are we so afraid to say that?
Yep.
Everybody says, well, we don't want to piss off the newcomer. No, but you'll kill him by not telling him.
Don't piss him off, kill him.
Everybody's so busy worried about the little newcomer. And it's like, guys, we have only one thing to settle. The spiritual experience.
That's it.
Well, and you get in a conversation, they want to talk about it. I know they don't. The book says you believe in and gain access to a power greater than yourself. And so when you gain access, you're going to believe in this power. If you're willing to believe, let me show you how you can get hooked up 220. I mean, we're fixing to strap a Roman candle to your ass. This is going to be If you're willing, then let's go. If you're not, I got no truck with it.
Yeah.
Well, I just let them go on. I don't. Because they're going to fight me down. Where's the necessary power going to come to? That's lack of power, that's the dilemma. I didn't write it, but I'm going to back it up what the book says. Lack of power is the dilemma. Now, how can we find some of that power? Well, I don't know what God is. I don't either. My idea of what God was 26 years ago has morphed, has changed today. Perry and I were just talking. Oh my God, I would no more have had that conversation with you 26 years ago than the man in the moon. It's just, we're talking spiritual stuff. We're talking about out there stuff. How cool. Open and roomy. And it's the absolute cool. Ask them, guys. The adequate presentation, some of y'all got those stickers on there. If that's separating them from the idea that they got to have a spiritual experience in order to get recovered, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And some of you are struggling with this because you believe this is a self-help program, and I'll repeat one more time. It is not a self-help program. I don't keep myself sober. I stay on the spiritual path with your help, and God keeps me sober. Yeah. I'm 26 years sober, guys, and I've got to tell you, when the obsession to use comes back to me, to drink, to do them other outside issues, I'm going to go do it.
Simple.
Great article I can send you if you want any information on that. Third step prayer, we get down on our knees, we do a little third step prayer with the guys. Again, I'm not a technician, I don't care. You memorize it, you can stand up, sit down again, I don't care. We get on our knees with our guys. We reach across the table, you can read it if you want to. We do a little third step prayer. It obligates me to bear witness to God's power. That's all that third step prayer is asking to do. It said, God, relieve me of the bondage of self.
Yes.
Which is the truth, isn't it?
Yes, it
My
is.
problem is not how poor you're up. My problem is me. The fact that you guys won't do it the way I think you should do it. We do a little third step prayer. In the bottom of that page it says, next, we launch down in the force of vigorous action.
Launch.
Guys, y'all get the visual. Next. We launch.
Next. That's Kenny's favorite.
Okay, we did a third step prayer. Next week when you come to this meeting, we'll start the fourth step. That's not what it says. There's two places in the steps that we lose the newcomer. Between the third and fourth step. You with us?
Yeah.
And between the seventh step and the eighth step. While we're making our list of people that we owe amends to. And that's where we usually lose them. And we can't afford to do that. I get them down on four-step stuff. I got a little form we use right straight out of the big book. I can forward you that if you want to. I don't care. There's check sheets out there, Joe and Charlie stuff. If you can use that if you want to. I don't care. What I want to know is the big things that are stopping you. I heard a counselor one time say in a meeting, in a group, he said, if you've got less than 600 names on your inventory, you're not being thorough.
Less than 600.
Preaching to the choir. I mean, come on, what? You hated every person you ever met? I mean, that's ridiculous. I'd rather you get the top 10, 20 down on paper and be done with it. The bottom, people, institutions, and principles I'm pissed at. What the problem was, what was the deal. Third column, how it affected me. And then my mistakes in the fourth column. Y'all follow? We're not therapy, we're not sitting. I hear people all the time sit down. We're going to get some blankets and we're going to curl up on the floor and we're going to read for like 10 hours. If selfish and self-centeredness is the root of my problem, and I'm going to let you talk for 10 hours about yourself, why don't you just hand them a gun? Now listen. Some of y'all have done that.
But hollow points.
But again, the urgency to finish this work, y'all follow? It's by working with others that I get to stay sober. Y'all all agree? Right. So the sooner I can get you to a place where you can work with others, the better it's going to be.
There you go.
This we give them the little notebook that says, I'm working on my four-step. I'm working on my four-step. You haven't picked it up in 6 months. Y'all follow? It's up at the top, your closet. When I do a third step prayer, I got my date planner and I open it up and I says, okay, brother, we're going to do this four step. I'm fixing to show you how. If you've got any questions, I'm going to stick real close to you. And then, let's see, 7 days from now will be next Saturday, and we'll do your fifth step on Saturday. That sound good? Yeah.
That's
And I put it down, and they got a week to do it.
That's what's up. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, you give them 6 months, and 5 months, and 29 days, they're writing like a sumbitch. Trying to get there. Y'all, it's experience.
That's right.
If you got any problems, you can call me on the phone, and we can talk about it. But this stuff I'm trying to think about the people I'm pissed at, the people I'm resentful at. You're not going to have to think about that. God, show me who I'm pissed at, and the names will come. And the names stop. You're done. Move on. If you have to think about it, it's stupid to write them down. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
I feel so much better. This step, we're going to sit down. We're going to do a little prayer. I'll usually at that time we're going to go back over that third step and make sure they're cool, and then we're going to do a little fifth step. And I'm going to help them understand. They're going to read. The only time I'm going to talk to them is if I've got an identified something to share, or if I can get them to move on. Let's go. All right, you got that. Let's go. Because I don't want a rat cage. Well, see. It was my cousin. Well, actually, it wasn't my cousin. It was like my mom married this. Well, we were like a. It's an inventory. I don't give a rat's ass your family tree. I don't care. Jimmy screwed me out of $600. Affected everything. My part. Did you know Jimmy was a cocaine addict? Yes.
Move on.
Next. It's not therapy. We're not not going to go back in and talk about all that, and I'm not going to spend any more time talking about the bad stuff than I am the little simple. It's not. It's just inventory. We're just looking at it, okay? I'm going to do a little fear inventory, 2-column. You can do what you want to do with it. What the fear, why you think you got it. Sex inventory. There's 9 questions in there that we ask about our sexual contact towards the opposite sex. If you're gay, it gets kind of goofy in there. I don't know how that works, but you can. We'll figure it out. You'll follow? If I'm doing a fifth step, though, properly on my sex piece, I could do it with any nice woman in here. Because we're not talking about pokey pokey. Everybody wants to do that. I'm sponsoring you as a man, and you come in here and start glowing about all the conquests you've had. It's going to be the fastest fifth step you've ever you have missed the mark.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I think today about the sisters that I hurt in my life. And I'm going to sit there and gloat about any of that. There's an old guy up there where I got sober with. He has guy starts that nonsense. He's got some women in his lineage, and he lets us go do that fifth step, that little piece of the fifth step with them. You want to talk about changing the complexion of the fifth step quick? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We do that. I read the little promises on fifth step promises there, which are great. Walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. It's pretty cool. And an hour later, it says we do 6 and 7.
1
That's
hour
why I
later.
got them. I got 2 pieces of paper out there laid out, and I got a 6-step list on this, and I got another piece of paper, and I got my 8-step list. And so while you're talking, I'm writing down some character defects: fear, selfishness, dishonesty. That starts. It's the same stuff for everybody. Laziness, perhaps. Jealousy. I'm just jotting them down because you're going to need this in an hour. You're going to have to go to God with this nonsense. We're going to have to start talking to Him. Make sense? 8-step list of the people. While we clean up our 5th step, while we're doing our 5th step, that's where I glean a lot of the people that I owe amends to. And I'm going to make you a partial list so that we can start working on it. An hour later, you take the book down, you go over the proposals, are you okay? And then we ask God to remove the character defects.
There you go.
You'll follow? There's books out there. You can complicate that if you want to. I'm not the one that fixes the character defects. God fixes the character defects. My shyness from the podium got taken care of with God. My incessant cussing from the podium got taken care of by God, not me. God take. This is about power, folks. Power. I got my 8-step list. I go over with my sponsor. The kid's going to go over it with me. We're going to look at the things. I want them to do the stuff that they can do first. Make sense? You can't go out there and make all your amends all at once. You may not have any money, but I want you to make the amends that are the most important. I'll give you an example real quick. We could talk hours just on this. Which would be more important for one of these little newcomers that are coming in here trying to get sober again? Paying their cable bill or their phone bill? Bless you. I know, and I love TV more than anybody, but I'm telling you, I need a phone to get a job. So we're going to do that one first, and that's my job as a sponsor. I'm going to help you organize this. We're going to get your credit report. We're going to find out who you owe money to, and we're going to move down the road, cleaning up the wreckage. Y'all down?
That's right.
10-step stuff. Spot check. As I go about my day, if I harmed you, I'm going to clean it up. 11th step, I'm going to start teaching my little guys how to pray and meditate. And I'm doing that from day 1. You'll follow? And then working with others, we're talking about it because they're getting through this work. My guys, if they're not sponsoring somebody by the time they're out, a month and a half, 2 months, we're going to have a talk. Now, let me put that differently. I'm going to talk. Because this idea, again, there's no free ride. This is about service. Somebody said it a minute ago. This is all about service. You'll follow? Yes. Whether I'm in AA or whether I'm out there in the real world, we are put here on this earth to serve our brothers and sisters in one way or another. And you think you can get by because you're recovering? Not.
Share.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I got. Mark used to say, when we read How It Works, there's this little deal in there that talks about you're willing to go to any length. If you're willing to go to any lengths and you're ready to take certain steps. And our deal with the guys is, I'm going to cover this little list that I do. Y'all can do your own list, or I can forward this to you and send it. I've got a little handout here, and I'd be more than glad to give it to you. But this is some pretty good stuff. A lot of times what we don't do is we tell the newcomer what they're expecting. You with us? I'm willing to go to any length. Okay. Do you know what that looks like? Well, I'm going to go to a meeting every day. That's not what it looks like. Let me explain to you what it looks like, so downstream when you start balking, we can get clear.
There you go.
Make sense? Yes. It's pretty cool. Get the rules out first. It's funny, after we want to do the writing after the girl divorces us, after the girl breaks our heart. Now I need to do some writing. You should have done some writing before you got to that relationship. You probably wouldn't have been with that one anyway. So we'll see. Here's what it looks like, and I'm going to go through this pretty quick, guys. There's only 11 or 12 of these. Willing to be qualified. I'm going to ask the guy right off the bat if he's willing to be qualified. If he gives me this crap, well, I just got out of treatment, I don't care. You may have been to a really good one and they helped you find your truth, but it's amazing to me how many people I watch in Alcoholics Anonymous who don't really understand what it is to be an alcoholic. That have been to treatment, that have been around the rooms for years, they don't know. Am I a drug addict? Am I an alcoholic? Am I a combination? I don't know. And the questions will help you. If any of you guys ever want to go over that, man, I'd help you in a heartbeat. You got to know your truth. You just got to. Some folks do get here by mistake. And we saw that in the 80s and 90s where the insurance companies were paying like slot machines. Anybody and his dog could get treatment. And we had people coming in that were just, their only claim to fame is they're crazy. And I'm not saying they're not. They're not. But they didn't have to work the steps, and they didn't have to have a spiritual experience to stop drinking. They just stopped. And they're welcome. Number 2, be willing to take the steps quickly. Yes, it is a race. I'm not interested in somebody that wants to go slow. If you want to go slow, there's plenty of people out there that sponsor that way. I got to get you from point A to point B with a spiritual experience so you can start helping other people get well. At that point, the chances of you relapsing are slim to none.
Yeah.
That's just the truth, guys. Bill Wilson wrote about it. Dr. Bob wrote about it. It's a race. And again, that's what treatment centers have done to us. They've slowed this whole process down. You didn't get sick overnight. You're not going to get well overnight.
Wow.
God left you king. Not what people have church to see. That's the deal. You're guaranteed by the time you work your staff. Number 3, I'm going to ask you to be willing to attend specific meetings early on. If I'm sponsoring you, you're going to go to literature-based meetings. You're going to go where people are talking solutions. You follow? You're not going to go just to open discussion hell just to be in a meeting. You're not. Because you'll get confused at that particular point in time. You follow? Let's get them on solid ground and they can go to any meetings they want to go to. I can care less. Willing to focus on just the big book until the steps are done. Every time I do this, somebody comes up after, what do you got against the 12 and 12? Nothing, except it wasn't the original textbook, and it'll confuse the daylights out of you if you're reading the textbook and the 12 and 12 at the same time. Especially around the 4th step. I love the 12 and 12. With some ensuing writings that Bill Wilson did 11 years after he wrote the big book. He was under great therapy at the time. He got a lot of great insight. Y'all follow? But it's not the simple, distilled, quick, let's get you to God solution that's in the big book.
Right.
Guys, after they get through the steps and we've gone through the book, man, I want them to read everything there is on recovery, not just AA stuff. There's some great stuff out there about recovery. I want them to read anything they can get their hands on. I'm a huge fan of that. Number 5, conference or not conference, I could care less. At that point, look, knowledge is indispensable. Number 5, I want them to be willing to be honest. It's a prerequisite in how it works. You got to be honest. It says it a couple of times in the book that you've got to have the ability to be honest. Did y'all agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then I want to sit with them and find out. I need to know some truth here. I'm not your confessor, but I got to tell you guys, I want to know, are you in a separate relationship with somebody that you might not should be in, or what? Sex and checks is what we 9 times out of 10 we're relapsing around. You follow? Tell me about your finances. I need to know, because when you start spinning out, I want to know the medications you're on. I'm not a doctor, but I've been around this long enough to know if you're on certain medications, you're going to act certain ways, especially if you stop taking those medications. I need to know.
Come on. Yeah.
Y'all follow?
Yeah. Help somebody.
Biggest mistake we make. People are always jamming me up. Chris, you're bashing antidepressants. I'm not never would I do that. I'm bashing people that don't explain antidepressants to people early on in sobriety. So when they get to a comfortable spot and they've had a spiritual experience and they just say, you know what, I don't need these pills anymore. And they throw them in the trash. And 2 days later, they're in a psychiatric ward.
Yep.
You can't just stop taking that stuff.
Yep.
You wean on it, you got to wean off of it.
That's right.
Y'all cool with that?
That's right.
But if I'm sponsoring a guy, I want to know, If the guy's taking benzodiazepines, I'm going to give him an opportunity to slide off of them. If he's not willing to slide off of them, I'm going to give him an opportunity to slide him into somebody else's stable. I'm not interested in sponsoring somebody.
There you go.
I'm not talking opiates. If you're on pain meds, I can do that. I'm not going to sponsor somebody on Xanax. If you're going to get your spiritual experience on a pill, have at it. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not telling you to stop taking it. I'm just saying I'm not the guy to sponsor you. Y'all cool?
Sure.
Amazing how many people are not cool with that. Okay.
We with you.
I want you to be willing to be open-minded about anonymity. Okay, here we go. Because if I had an hour, I could spend the whole time talking about it. Dr. Bob wrote some great stuff in Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers and some of his other ensuing articles. He talked about anonymity, practicing above the tradition and below the tradition. You'll follow? I'm in here with my family today. My name is Chris Raymer, and I live in Ingram, Texas. And I will bust my anonymity anytime I want to in this modality. This is ridiculous. My name is Chris R. We wonder why we don't get parity of people out there. Y'all follow? We wonder why insurance companies don't pay for what we do in treatment centers. Is because because we do this anonymous thing. You can be as anonymous as you want, but I'm going to ask you to consider, if I'm working with you, to break your anonymity, one, at the group level, so we can all get to know you, and two, break your anonymity with people out there about being in recovery. You don't have to tell them you're in AA. Y'all follow? I'm tiptoeing in the back door of that church, that AA place up there in Ingram, Texas. Louisville, where I got sober. And I parked 2 blocks away so nobody would see me walking back into Alcoholics Anonymous. And then I found out my mom had placed me on the prayer list every But really, come on guys. How many of y'all think you're fooling anybody that you're an alcoholic or an addict? All you got to do is look at some of the cars we drive, and it's like, oh my God, you're an alcoholic, aren't you? We get sober, and we catch fire with God, and everything's cool, and we're helping people, and our lives are changing, and we're paying our bills, and we started a cool little business, and our creative juices are all lathered up and fine. But I don't want anybody to know why.
Oh, wow.
Shame on you. Tell them you're in recovery. Everybody in the Hill Country knows. Man, the marshal in my little town stopped somebody with a DWI. If they're locals, they'll call me first. Before they haul him to jail, he'll call Chris Rain. If I'm in town, I'll go get the old boy. I'll give him a chance. They're not going to do that. The people at the emergency room are going to call me and give him a chance. Y'all think, well, I don't know. I can't find any alcoholics to work with. You're not trying. And you're holding it a little close. You're holding it a little close. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying you've got to break your anonymity about being an alcoholic, especially some of you women. If you want to stay anonymous, that's fine. But I'm just saying we've gone way far with that. 80 years ago, guys, I understood why we did that. The stigma around it. But we're still battling the stigma because we won't come out of the closet ourselves. Why don't they treat us like we've got diabetes? It's a disease. It is. But you don't have anybody with diabetic stuff going sneaking in a room. My name's Kenny, and I'm a diabetic. Sing it from the mountaintops. It's okay to tell folks you're in recovery. That's just it. Wow. Especially your doctors and your dentists. I got to tell you, we see so many of y'all read-ups around dentists. You don't tell them you're in recovery, and they give you that prescription of 30 hydrocodone. Y'all follow? For a little teeth scraping. 30 hydrocodone. Thanks, doc. Y'all consider that a freebie? Well, the doctor prescribed it. Yeah. No. When I go to my dentist like that, I don't care what happens like that. He gives me 3 hydrocodone. One for that night, one the next morning. Got a root canal, it's all the same. And I throw the last one away. Because ibuprofen will take care of the pain after that. It's not that big a deal. It won't take care of this pain. It'll take care of this pain. Make sense? Tell everybody. Let people around you know. Let your families know. Number 7, I want you to be willing to take a service commitment. My guys are at that page 129 that we talked about. Again, it's on these little handouts that I've got for you if you want it. Everybody gets a service commitment. That's part of our accountability. You're brand new in this program. You find a job in AA, and you'll stay. All right. I don't think we don't have to worry about the people that cook this food and set these rooms up relapsing. We don't. What we have to worry about is the cats sitting by themselves talking to no one, got no truck in this, not participating in any possible way, no job in AA, and pretty soon they'll just disappear.
That's right. That's
One day
right.
they'll be gone. And then somebody could say, well, they just didn't want it bad enough. Guys, get them in motion, get them in gear. That's the one thing they did for me in 1987 when I came back in. They said, Chris Rammer, we need somebody to help us clean this room. And I said, buddy, I have a business. I'm not going to clean. I don't. It's a bankrupt business, but I own it. And they did exactly that. They just laughed and said, well, and I'm sure it's a good one. Chris Rammer, meet Mr. Hoover. And they opened the door and there was a vacuum cleaner right there. Come on, guys. I'd spent 7 years monitoring AA. This is your club. Can't they clean this place up? Look at this. What is this? Now all of a sudden it's like, this is my club. Hey, did you wipe your feet off before you came? Who raised you? Paula, there's a difference between sitting on the sideline and watching and participating and being in the park. Y'all come to the outpost and see me. Anytime we do a special function, it's my little skinny butt out there by the barbecue pit. Because I'm so good. I'm a barbecue fool. I want you to be willing to be accountable in all three parts of the program. Because I'm going to go to the circle triangle, I'm going to explain that to them, and that's what we're going to do from then now on. I'm not going to be there just to talk about your girlfriend again. I want to know about all three parts of the program, because that's what you're going to relapse over. I want you to be willing to learn about the traditions. And the other literature too at this time. Simultaneously, I'm going to talk to you about our primary purpose and what the traditions are about. Y'all follow? I'm seriously like to be about singleness of purpose and our seventh tradition that talks about putting some money in there. It drives me crazy when I'm sponsoring a guy and the basket passes by and he didn't drop $1 in there, but he's got a $4.50 energy drink in his hand. No, done. I'm not going to do it ever again. Y'all follow? You help us so we can help the newcomer.
That's right.
And if there's anything left over, which my experience is there will be, guys, you start getting straight spiritually, financially, tithe, financially participate, and I guarantee you God will take care of this stuff over here.
Right. That's right.
And don't get me started. And don't get me started. I'm like a Baptist preacher. I know. I got people leaving. Don't matter.
Little man, Rob, hey.
Number 10, I want you to be willing to follow guidance about meeting etiquette. Guys, again, I could tell you a story if we have time, but I want you all to understand. The newcomer doesn't understand what to do in a meeting.
Right.
That's appropriate.
Yep.
If they don't understand that it's not appropriate, especially in some groups, to say the F word in a meeting. And guys, I used to do it all the time. Somebody had to bring it to my attention. Chris, it's making some people uncomfortable. Why don't you consider not doing it? Oh my gosh, okay. And I stopped. Somebody's got to teach us what's appropriate in a meeting. Guys, you know, you come in, y'all did so great today. And I understand some people got to come in late, they got work, they got to leave early. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the little newcomer that sits out there and smokes until 30 seconds till, then clumps up to the front row.
Yep.
You with this? With his stupid e-cigarette flaring the whole way. I'm sorry, but it's not fair to the people that are trying to quit for good.
Yeah.
You know? And we got to set up here in a meeting the other day in another town, and they were smoking. There were 6 people in the front row, and they were all smoking e-cigarettes, all of them different flavors. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was just like, come on. Apollo? Guys I'm sponsored, they're going to dress appropriately. Just, you know, Dr. Bob said it says carry the message, and if you must, use words. And so it doesn't mean that you got to dress up from the podium or whatever, but you dress nicely. You come in and you old pair of cutoffs and old wife beater T-shirt with old hair hanging out. Buddy, what? No, we're cleaning up our act here a little bit. We're gonna. If you start cleaning up, you know, take a little shower and. It's the same with some of the girls. You know, it's funny. I don't know, those men, they look at me like I'm a whore.
Looks so deceiving.
I'm not saying anything. I got all kinds of heat around me. I can dress any way I want to. I'm just saying there's a lot of sick people in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Amen.
I'm going to say this right now. Any one of you women get pestered. Y'all know the difference between an AA hug and an AA hump? Somebody come and bother you and you don't want to be bothered, you come talk to some of us old timers, and I guarantee you I'll take care of it. I cannot tell you how many times I get emails from women that say, I can't go back to AA because I can't run the gauntlet.
Sure.
I walk by, 15 hairy-legged boys walk by, nobody even says, hi, kiss my ass. Nobody.
Yeah.
But some little girl walks in, oh, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. All I'm responsible for, I'm not the AA plea, I'm responsible for the guys I sponsor. The father, you're going to treat women with respect.
That's right.
That's just the way it is. Etiquette, punctuality. Y'all with us? Contributing, y'all got that? Introduce yourself with one illness, y'all please. It's like having a big old target painted on your ass. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. You're just trust me, you piss somebody off in the room. Stop. You're an AA, I'm an alcoholic. I go to Drug Addicts Anonymous, I'm a drug addict. I don't care. My sponsor used to ask me, Chris, are you a shitty sign painter? I said, yeah. So why don't you introduce yourself as a shitty sign painter? I said, Mark, it's not the same. Yes, it is. Nobody cares. You'll follow? We got that back in the 80s, guys, in the 90s when the treatment center boom hit. We had thousands of people a month coming into our fellowship. And every one of them had more than one illness. Every one of them. Because it paid better. You with us? As an alcoholic, I can get so amount of money, but if you're an alcoholic and an addict, and an overeater, and a sex addict, and a gambler, I get ka-ching! And you're sitting in these rooms introducing yourself that way, what have you done? You've separated yourself from everybody else in the room. And I can't afford to be separated from you. I don't want to be better than you, and I don't want to be less than you. I just want to be the same bozo on this bus with everybody else. Bring it. Home group. In order to get a home group, you got to go to their group conscience. If you're not going to their group conscience, you don't have a home group. Right? The guys I sponsor, they don't have to be a home group with me. I want them to go to the meetings with me for a while so I can keep my little eye on them and make sure that they're okay. Now today's the famous deal is to text. I'm going to text my sponsor. You can just do that up to a certain point, guys, but sooner or later I want to look at you. All I got to do is look at you, and I can tell where you're at. Isn't that right?
That's right.
I got a lot of experience in this room. Y'all follow?
There you go.
Last one on this little list is I want you to be willing to look at your health, your exercise, that kind of nonsense. It's amazing to me how many of us got here and we hadn't been really taking care of ourselves. We haven't been to the dentist in years. Let me see. Buy some dough. Go to the dentist. And we don't take vitamins. And there's some great evidence out there in early sobriety. Take fish oil and some vitamin E to stimulate the little things that need to be stimulated. Lots of evidence out there that talks about this. We need to get healthy again. We really burned it at both ends, and we got. But somebody's got to make us do that. Chris, when's the last time? When have you been to a dentist? I don't want to go to a dentist. I'm all right because I don't. You don't have to wait till your tooth falls out of your head to go to a dentist. Okay. Exercise. This is one of my biggest soapboxes out there. The guys that I sponsor that need to move. Doesn't mean that you got to go to the gym, work out, get on steroids, big beefy boy. It doesn't. But you got to. It could be just walking around the block. Something. But you got to get your heart rate elevated, and you got to start moving. Can I tell you how many people sit in meetings over and over? I need to do another 4-step. I said, buddy, I saw you do a 5th step about 3 months ago. What do you need to do another one for now? Well, I just feel horrible. It's because you haven't moved any further than the couch and the remote control since I met you. Come on, guys. Forget alcoholism and drug addiction. Forget all of that. We are not meant to be sedentary people.
That's right.
You've got to move. And evidence shows if you'll just get out and walk briskly, rake the front yard, get the heart level up, the endorphins start popping, and pretty soon that depression that's choking you will dissipate.
All right.
It's physiological stuff. You sitting on your butt eating. Well, I went to three meetings a week, and it's like, yeah, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I got a couple of things to cover. We can answer some questions for you real quick. Every time I do a little sponsorship deal, this is from a box 459. It was in the 2000. I've carried this forever. I can get you a copy of it if you're ever interested. Again, email me and I'll send it to you. But it was a particularly telling article. This was like in 2000 when this article was written. The article's titled, and again, you can go to box 459 on Google it, and you can get this yourself. You can download it. Intergroup asked, where have the volunteers gone?
Wow.
Y'all remember Dr. Bob, what he's talking about in the back of the book, why we got to go work with other people. Dr. Bob sponsored conservatively, no argument about it, 5,000 people in his lifetime. That was a little less than 15 years he was sober. I mean, you do the math. He wasn't sponsoring like we're sponsoring, taking them on to raise. That's horseshit. He was getting them through the work and pushing them out the nest so they could start sponsoring some other people. But here's the evidence of what Dr. Bob was, why we're not listening to what Dr. Bob said. I could read the whole thing, I just want one little paragraph. The most frustrating thing about answering intergroup's phones, says Bob R., manager of the Intergroup Association in New York City, is finding an AA member willing to take a 12-step call for some sick alcoholic who has phoned us for help. Man, I would think that they would have other problems to deal with than trying to find a volunteer to go work with a drunk.
Yeah.
We've got too many people out here that are not understanding that this is not an option. We work with others or we die. Sometimes it takes up to 20 calls to identify just one willing volunteer. Some of the responses we hear when a live member actually does answer the phone. What's a 12-step call?
Wow.
Come on, guys. Now that's evidence of lousy sponsorship. Would y'all agree?
Yeah.
How did you get my number? Must have given it to us in a blackout. I don't know. Do you mean you actually want me to talk to someone who's still drinking? The saddest response came from a member who exclaimed, "No, I can't do it. I'm busy all day. Today is my sobriety anniversary."
Wow.
That boy's going to hell. Come on. See, so here's what happens. Let me line this down. So here's what happened. I worked the 12 steps, and 2 weeks after this guy's got with me, and I'm working the steps. I'm sitting on the tailgate of my truck up in North Texas. 2 weeks after, and I haven't even done a fifth step yet, but I've had an experience. The obsession to use is lifted, and it dawns on me. And I talked to my sponsor the next day. He said, "Buddy, you're ready. Let's get cranking. We're practicing the disciplines of 10, 11. Y'all follow? And now it's 12 is what we got to do. While we clean up the wreckage of our past. That's where a lot of you guys hold out. I can't work with anybody because I'm still making amends. I'm 26 years sober. I've still got some amends. Y'all follow? I'm still trying to track some people down. And they're probably dead. I hope they are, but I don't. Absolutely. But the letters keep coming back. And today with the internet out there, come on, guys. Tracking people down is just so much easier. If some of the bozos out there have been able to find me, trust me, I can find them. So, we can do this, but this is where everybody slows down. Everybody gets a chance to sponsor, and it's scary. Come on, guys. It's like sex. It's like, I want to do it, but I'm kind of like, I don't know, Yes, I could have come up with a different analogy, but I think that's pretty perfect. How do you learn how? Read a book? Or just finally do it? Some of y'all are still reading the book.
Gotta experience it.
Wakes me up. Gotta go do it. And you get better. Come on, I'm 26 years sober. Today I'm going to get better. I'm going to become more effective today. I work it out. I don't let the newcomer call the shots. You're going to meet when I can be there. I go to meetings on Monday night and Wednesday night, and I usually try to get the guys to come Monday and Wednesday night so we can do the work, because on some other nights I got a wife and I got a family and I want to ride a bicycle. I do some other things. If you get too attached where you're always pulled, you won't stay in the game.
Right on.
That's why I'm so against this. You got to go to a meeting every day. It's like, that's fine in early sobriety, but downstream someplace, you've also got to go do some other stuff. Paint some pictures. Start some businesses. Make some money. Send it to me. I don't know. Real quick. This, I've read this from 1,000 podiums all over the world. It was a letter that somebody had. This kid had come to a facility where I worked, and the kid passed away. He died. This was a letter he wrote before he died. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's just because I can't. I just can't. I'd be crying like a girl up here. But I want you to catch a glimpse here, and I'm not taking this kid's inventory, I'm just saying, the problem that I see in our fellowship is summed up in this one paragraph that this little kid wrote. He was in a different fellowship that focuses on the fellowship more than it does anything else. And this little line in there that he says, bless his heart, and I wish he was here today so I could grab him and we could do things a little bit differently. And I'm honored that the mom and dad gave me this.
Yeah.
It's probably one of my most treasured possessions. I hope to one day make you all proud that you have me in your lives. Maybe someday down the line, I can freely give to others that which has been given to me. A little glimmer of hope and the prospect of never having to feel or live this way again. Thank you all. Amen. Maybe someday, down the line, no. Come on, buddies. No. Now. Today. I want to get well and get rich and everything's fine, and then I'm going to go help those that are hurting. You're not going to be any more effective with $100,000 in the bank as you are
Right now.
Right now. Say it.
I'm 7 years in Alcoholics Anonymous, and nobody will let me do anything. On 90% of the AA clubs out there, somewhere on the wall where you sign up, there's a notice that you can't sponsor till you've been sober a year. You can't sponsor till you've been sober 2 years. And that stuff has got to stop, because it's nowhere in the big book. We just read it on page 129. Nothing's going to keep you sober like working with another drunk. Okay, maybe you can't sponsor because you're sitting on your 4-stepper. You haven't. You're not hardly detoxed yet. I'm with you on that one, but you can still stand at the door and shake the hands, and pour the coffee, and go love on the little guys and help them understand that they're welcome here. Because guys, I got to tell you, we don't have enough people in the trench to be telling anybody that they can't do anything.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
And what we're starting to see, I guarantee you, we're starting to see the stuff that happened to us in the 80s and 90s with treatment centers cranking them out by the billions. I guarantee you, last estimate of Obamacare, whether you like it or don't like it, there'll be the minimum of 46 million newly insured people come into our system. Where these people are going to be able to go, they're not going to be able to go to some of these other facilities that I work at, I guarantee you, because they don't have the money. Where are they going to go? They'll go to outpatient, they'll get some information, they'll get a little knowledge, and then they're going to come right to Delta.
That's right.
They're going to start pouring through the door. And we can't be looking over in our own little clique, visiting with our own little buddies.
right,
while a little newcomer comes in here and looks around and gets uncomfortable and leaves again. And then gets it blamed on him why he didn't stay sober. We got the only game in town, buddies. This is it. Big Book says it, guys, right up in the very front in Bill's story, it says each of us in our own way get to carry the message. That's right. Y'all think I do this in an AA meeting. I get up and jump. I don't ever raise my voice or get up in a meeting. I'm here talking to a whole group of people in here. There's some people that need my abrasiveness. They need that in their face stuff.
Right.
And there's some people that need your sweetness, your gentleness, your knowledge, your intellect. You're able to discuss and the minutia of this. It makes me just want to stab them in the eye.
Minutia. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Drive it home. I like that too.
You don't need no more another
The minutia.
You got one. We need you. We need you. We need you, the young ladies that were just in here getting your. We need you. Some of you cats that have been here, you're just like me. You had a period of sobriety, you lost it, now you're coming back in again. And then they're going to punish you. Well, you can't sponsor anybody because you relapsed.
Wow.
Did you lose all that knowledge that you brought in here and all that experience? No. I'll say it again. We don't have enough people. Y'all know what in the trench looks like? I had to talk at a young adult deal over in downtown Houston one time. This was a billion years ago. It was raining like a sunbitch. And I'm over there on Shepherd, lost as usual. I think it's a one-eyed thing. I don't know. And I'm looking at it, and I've got the windows rolled down on the backside so I can get some air in there because my windows are all fogging up. And I'm looking down in this trench. There's a road work on the side, and they got 6, 7 guys standing on the side over here, all of them in yellow slickers with clipboards. Yeah. And they got 2 little guys down there digging in that trench, soaking wet. And they got 7 guys up here pointing. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. A
Wow.
whole bunch of people out there with clipboards, the AA police. You ain't been sober long enough. You can't take that person that you've been sober a year. You know, painting this stupid picture makes us look like a stupid cult instead of the spiritual program that we are.
Right.
We don't have enough people in the trench digging.
Right.
Find you some prospects. Let me be the first to tell you that some of the guys you get, they're not going to stay sober. That's the world. The guys that I sponsor, some of them don't stay sober. It's okay. I can't believe that they would relapse. How bad does that make me look?
Oh, I relapsed behind them.
But I'm going to tell you this, and I'll let you guys, and we'll answer a few questions, and I know we got some spoken, so this won't take 10 more minutes. There ain't nothing like it, and I've shared this from the podium. I've seen this 1,000 times. You go back up at the outpost where I got, and it's kind of like this. You got a coffee bar out there outside. You got the meeting rooms in here, and I'll be sitting there making some coffee, and I have to come in early to make the coffee. Y'all understand why? Because I do it very, very bad. You got to put this packet in it, but it's just you got to use the whole pack. Anyway, I'm up there making coffee. This guy, and I hear some noise in the back of the big room. And I look around the corner, and we got the steps on the wall just like we got here, and then we got a little table where the chairperson chairs the meetings. It's a sit-down table. And I got guys I'm sponsoring sitting in the chair side, and they got the other little guys got a pulled up chair, and they got the big book open. He said, "Okay." He said, "Now, well, listen, where's your highlighter?" I told every time we do this work, I want you to have a highlighter so you can mark this stuff. And then you hear him going back and forth. He says, "Here, you can take my highlighter, but don't come back without it." I mean, he's eating this guy's ass just like I ate his ass 3 months ago. You know, how cool is that? You know? And I'm grinning, making coffee like pretty soon. And he's explaining the third step prayer to this kid. You know, and they're talking about the significance of what it's about the removing the difficulties and how it obligates us to carry this message.
That's right.
To share hope with the newcomer. Pretty soon I hear them. It's concrete floor, and I hear the chairs back up, and I know what's going to happen. And I look around the corner, and there's my guy, fried pie from hell, never going to get sober. Everybody gave up on him. Y'all follow?
Right.
Sponsoring this little knucklehead. And he's got him right there. He says, "Buddy, it's okay. You don't have to memorize it, but look right there on page 63, that third step prayer. We just covered it. I want you to read it right here. And if you would, just get on your knees with me, and let's do this. Let's get cranking on this fourth step." The guy says, "Okay." And he looks around, does the same as they all do. They all look around to make sure nobody's watching. Get on his knees with another guy, you know, and it's just, "Oh, we don't do that." So he looks around like that, you know, and I look back, and I look around, and they're sitting there like that, and they read the third step prayer.
There you go.
Come on, guys, just for a second. You know, next year we'll be 80 years old. Less than a generation ago, we were dying in insane asylums. They were locking us up and giving us lobotomies, and most of us died in those insane asylums by our own hands because they took away the one thing that made us feel okay, the alcohol. And they didn't understand that the alcohol wasn't the problem. Less than a generation ago, that's what happened to us. And we still got people today dying out there on the streets because they're getting a mixed message. They're getting a skewed idea about what alcoholism looks like, what AA is really all about. And I get to sit there and look at those steps, and I get to look at the pictures of Bill and Dr. Bob on the wall, and I get to realize the people that have been affected because those guys took the chances they did with people.
Yeah.
We always talk about it, guys. We always talk about all the damage that y'all did. You do it in treatment. "Oh, I hurt so many people when I was out there drinking." Yes, you did. And now you're sober. How many people do you think are going to be positively affected because you're sober today?
Right.
Your family members, your co-workers, the people that you work. It boggles the mind. That ring that started with Bill and Dr. Bob, Ebby carrying that message into the hospital with him, going out of his comfort zone to carry a message to somebody he didn't know was going to stay sober or not. It's not your business whether they stay sober or not.
That's right.
Your job is to carry the message.
Yeah.
I know it's scary, but guys, look around this room. Some of my absolute heroes here in Houston are in this room right here. You don't know how to sponsor? Ask them. You get it over your head? Ask them. Email me, call me, let's talk about it.
Right.
Because it's not okay that you let that fear stop you. That's the spiritual warfare that nobody seems to want to talk about.
That's right. Yes.
You keep waiting to do the work. I don't think the dark side wants any of us in this room dead. I think the dark side wants every one of us in here ineffectual. Sitting on the sidelines feeling sorry for yourself.
Yes.
You follow?
Right on.
Nothing will make you feel better, guys, than to reach out and be of service to somebody else.
That's right.
All right.
Y'all cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, we got time for a couple questions real quick. Any questions? What you got, brother? Make them simple. Listen, the deal on the question is to ask the question. I'm not interested in your history.
Right, in regards to qualifying as